Feeling like your mind is rewriting reality? Discover the hidden biology of depression, inflammation, neurotransmitters, and breakthrough treatments. Keep going. You're not alone, and new solutions are emerging now.
Please hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Don't forget to check the description below for links to our trusted sponsors and ways you can support the show.
Depression affects 5% of the population. That means in your average college lecture hall of 200 students, 10 of them are likely battling major depression right now. And what's even more striking is how this condition rewires the very way our brains process reality.
You know what really caught my attention about those numbers? It's not just about feeling sad. We're talking about a condition that's actually the fourth leading cause of disability worldwide.
Right? And here's something fascinating about how it manifests. People with depression often create these completely false narratives about themselves. Like that example from the research of an athlete in physical therapy who kept insisting they were getting weaker, even while their therapist had clear evidence they were improving.
That's such a powerful illustration of how depression warps perception. How does something like that even happen in the brain?
Well, it comes down to this fascinating concept called anti-self confabulation. Basically, the brain starts generating these elaborate negative stories about oneself that don't match reality at all. It's similar to how people with dementia might make up stories to fill in memory gaps, except in depression, these stories are consistently self-deprecating.
And I imagine that makes treatment particularly challenging since you're essentially fighting against the brain's own narrative-making machinery.
Exactly. And that's where the complexity of treatment comes in. We've learned that depression involves at least three major neurotransmitter systems: norepinephrine affecting energy levels, dopamine controlling pleasure response, and serotonin managing emotional processing.
That explains why there's no one-size-fits-all solution. You know what really surprised me? Learning about how inflammation plays such a huge role in depression.
Oh yeah, the inflammation connection is fascinating. When there's chronic inflammation, it actually hijacks the tryptophan pathway that should be making serotonin and instead creates neurotoxins that make depression worse. That's why anti-inflammatory approaches like EPA supplements can be so helpful.
Speaking of biological factors, the genetic component really stood out to me, like how identical twins have that 50% concordance rate for depression.
And what's really interesting about that genetic piece is how it interacts with stress. The research shows that after about 4 to 5 major stress episodes in life, your risk for depression skyrockets, especially if you have that genetic predisposition.
Well, that certainly explains why learning stress management techniques is so crucial for prevention.
Absolutely right. And here's where some unexpected treatments come in, like who would have thought that cold showers could help, but they actually boost norepinephrine levels in the brain, which is one of those key neurotransmitters we talked about.
That's fascinating. And what about the research on ketamine? It seems like such an unlikely treatment.
You know, the ketamine findings are really groundbreaking. It works differently from traditional antidepressants by creating this dissociative state that allows people to step back from their emotional pain. Some studies are showing 50 to 70% improvement rates, which is pretty remarkable.
And then there's the whole connection with thyroid function. I had no idea that 20% of people with major depression have low thyroid hormone.
Right? And it gets even more interesting when you look at how hormonal changes throughout life can trigger depression, like during postpartum, menstrual cycles, or menopause. It really shows how interconnected our body systems are.
That reminds me, what about the emerging research on psilocybin? The results from those clinical trials seemed pretty promising.
The psilocybin research is fascinating, especially how it seems to work by rewiring those negative thought patterns we talked about earlier. And what's really interesting is that the subjective experience doesn't seem to matter as much as we thought. People can have very different experiences during treatment, but still get similar benefits.
So it sounds like we're moving toward a much more comprehensive understanding of depression, one that includes everything from inflammation to hormone levels to neural circuits.
Exactly. And that's leading to more targeted treatments, like how the ketogenic diet might be particularly helpful for people who don't respond to traditional antidepressants, probably because it affects the balance of GABA and glutamate in the brain.
You know what strikes me about all this? How far we've come from thinking of depression as just being all in your head.
That's such an important point. We're finally understanding depression as this complex interaction between brain chemistry, hormones, inflammation, stress, and genetics. It's not a character flaw or a choice. It's a real medical condition with measurable biological effects.
And that understanding is crucial for reducing stigma and helping people get the treatment they need.
Looking ahead, I think we're going to see even more personalized approaches to treatment based on each person's specific biological profile. The future of depression treatment might look more like precision medicine, where we can target the exact mechanisms that are out of balance in each individual.
That would be a game changer for so many people struggling with this condition.
And in the meantime, we've learned there are concrete steps people can take, from managing inflammation through diet and exercise to understanding their own risk factors and stress responses. It's about building a comprehensive toolkit for mental health.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wellness Lab Digest. If this episode helped you, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1. Subscribe to stay updated with fresh, body-loving wellness insights. 2. Share this episode with a friend who needs this today. 3. Comment below and tell us what topics you'd love to hear next. Want to do even more? Check the video description for ways to support the show. Stay curious, stay well, and we'll see you in the next episode.